How is it going, you lovely lot? Welcome back to Park to Prem. It's a transfer special ahead of season number 9. We have now officially, I'm pleased to report, secured our position as a Champions League squad due to the extra spot that England get, which means we have money to spend. £66 million transfer budget, wage budget as well, and I've spent it all already. I mean, should we just make it the shortest transfer special ever? Andy White is joining us, and if you're wondering, why have you signed him so soon? The transfer window isn't even open yet. There's lots of other teams interested, and he had a release clause to clubs in the Champions League. That release clause, £63 million. I absolutely had to sign him for that, and the sooner I got it done, the better. So I've done it immediately. I hope that's okay. £64 million it's going to cost us, including fees. In terms of the actual contract offered, £110,000 a week makes him the highest earner. Some of these bonuses are absolutely absurd, but ultimately we're a Champions League club now. We have a bit more money to spend. I think this guy can be a real difference maker. All that's left to do is hit the big yellow accept button. The deal is confirmed. Andy White is home. I'm so happy. Let's run the intro and get straight into things. Today, by the way, is episode number 64 of Park to Prem here with Wanderers FC. As I've already mentioned, it is our first season as a Champions League club. With that, we get a little bit of a rep bump, which we can already see here. Looking forward to seeing where the game kind of predicts we're going to finish for the coming year. I think our squad's in a really good spot. I mean, in terms of my aim for the coming year, I now want to be a regular European competing team. I'd love to regularly, of course, make it top 5, battle for the Champions League. Silverware also has to be on the aim for next year. After the season just gone, these runner-up trophies here, they're just mocking me. Now, sadly, with that Andy White deal done, I'm now over the wage budget and I've not got any transfer budget left. So in terms of improving the rest of the team, that is going to be entirely dependent on wheeling and dealing. Being realistic, this might be the kind of summer where only one transfer special episode is needed, simply because I can't really buy anyone else. And to be honest, if you were to ask me, Jack, what position should you not sign anyone in under any other circumstances, I probably would have said the attacking department. In terms of average rating, Marcus Sheldon was the joint top goal scorer in the Premier League, had the most assists, got the best average rating, and Will Lancashire, another one of our strikers, got the second best average rating across the whole season. 16 starts for him, 10 goals, 7.41 rating. Obviously, the issue for Will was he was injured constantly last year. If he'd stayed fit all year, he and Sheldon would have been two of the best players in the league, I feel like, quite comfortably. You can see as well here how I'm planning for Andy White's arrival. I'm leaving a space for him. We've already marked out his parking space outside the stadium. I've informed all the players that the King is returning. And, well, speaking of when he's going to return, it's in 4 days. Board expectation for this year, if you were wondering, is just to be competitive in the Champions League and record a top half Premier League finish. Naturally, having finished top half the last 2 years, we're going to be looking to go a step beyond that. It is worth noting that with our reputation rise as well, and of course Champions League football secured, a lot of our players' values have shot up. There's definitely a world where we might look to move some of these players on, especially players who weren't regulars so much for the year just gone. I'm looking at players like Danny Hoey, thinking, I've got some good centre-backs in the under-21s who I could promote to replace you. It might be time to cash in. And in terms of players in the under-21s who I might want to cash in on, Matthew Miller, perhaps the greatest mistake I've made in all of FM24. I think we need to try and sell. I spent £17.5 million on this guy, loaned him in the Championship for a whole year. He still doesn't look very good. His value is quite healthy though, so if I could avoid making a loss on him, that would be optimal. Even in this youth team here, where we've got loads of players loaned out, whilst there's some of these players I'd like to keep around, such as James Wiles here, who, to be honest, I think is probably just a ready-made replacement for Hoey as a depth centre-back option. There is other players in our ranks here that we need to cash in on, much like we did last year. Saying all of that, though, we need to get to the 10th. I need the transfer window to be open. I need to start to get some bids, hopefully, on our players. So I'm going to mash continue a little bit. Apparently, Leeds have identified Caleb Anson as a target. Anson is not going anywhere. This guy has been our goalkeeper since back in the good old days of League One. And well, he had a really good year for this year just gone. His best rating as a goalkeeper playing for us. And yeah, I love him. It's an unconventional love, I'll admit it, but he is just so good. Gavin Wallace injured for 3 to 4 weeks is a bit annoying. That's happened while he's on international duty with England. I suppose the good news is it's the pre-season, so that's not going to affect his start to the year unless he gets another injury. Let's hope that doesn't happen. The transfer window is open. Andy White is home. You can see here he's a hugely popular figure with Wanderers fans, and the space will be hoping he proves to be an inspired signing. Andy is home. What did it cost me? Absolutely everything for this summer. Oh, he's so good, though, isn't he? He's so good. As an advanced forward, he literally ticks all the boxes. I love him. I mean, at this point, should we just go home for the day? No, you know what? There is more wheeling and dealing to be done. There's areas where I'd like to try and see if there's improvements out there. But to be honest, this is now just an amazing team. Sheldon and Andy White is going to be like a meeting of minds, I feel like. Sheldon obviously came in to be the Andy White replacement for us, and he's now flanked alongside by the man who, let's be honest, he was trying to replace, who, when we look at things on paper, is comfortably a much, much better player. Unsurprisingly, that is our record transfer. I've just seen here, PSG have made a bid for Dorrington. They've offered me £45 million, or at least that's what it's potentially worth. I spent £30 million on him the year just gone. I don't intend on selling Alfie. I mentioned players I want to sell. This man is not one of them. We're going to reject that. No doubt he's going to cry and be unhappy. He's got 4 years left on his current contract. He can continue to cry. I never do this. I'm now looking at the social media feeding game to feel more immersed in the fact the fans are happy that Andy White is back. I was already a big fan of his. Nothing's changed on that front, says Dexter. Agreed. Excited getting to watch Andy again. You and me both, Evie. You and me both. Apparently, this is a big statement by Wanderers, and the expectations for them moving forward have to be much higher. Hard agree with that. Can you tell I'm giddy about the Andy White signing? I'm trying to remain calm and hide it. I'm doing a miserable job. I'm just looking for all the different players that have got interest in them. Nicky Meredith has some interest from Celtic. We signed him for 31 million. He got 15 goals last year. I know Andy White's coming. I still don't really want to sell him. It's easy to forget he's only 22. Lancashire's got interested in. With all the injuries he's had, he might be the player that I'm least against selling if the offer's right. And he's still not listed as injury prone, but when you look at his actual injury history, there is no denying he's had some problems. Leeds and Southampton want him. I'm just going to offer him out. Well, I was thinking about offering him out for an unspecified amount. Apparently, he might not like that. Can I just ask his agent what the interest is like? His agent reckons that they can bring a bid of 28 million to the table. That's just not worth it, is it? I spent 20 million on him. He's proven to be a great Premier League player. I mean, I don't even really need to sell anyone now. Of the players that I could sell, Hoey is definitely towards the top of that list. Let's offer him out for an unspecified amount and see what interest we get. In terms of other squad players here, James McConnell, definitely open to selling this guy. The 27-year-old has been a solid player for us, but I feel like his kind of time in the squad is probably coming to an end. He only played 8 games for us for the year just gone. Might as well just see what interest might be out there. I think Shirtliff, with the arrival of Andy White, probably gets to move on as well. He has always been a bit of a weird player where I'm not quite sure where he fits into the team. We signed him for 2.3 million. If we can get more than that for him, that would be a success. Gabadebo is a player who, if he wasn't so versatile, I probably would look to sell. But just given the fact he can play absolutely everywhere, he is just kind of a useful player to have around. I mean, in terms of players in the under-21s who I might be looking to promote this year, James Wiles has just spent the year on loan in the Championship. Compared to Hoey, he is a much better player for us. So naturally, I'm going to bring him in to be one of our depth players for the coming year. Andy Robinson, who you might remember we signed in January, from Charlton, is another player who's developed quite nicely. I'm going to promote him to the senior team. I might look for a loan out for him. Also, I do need to get his face sorted. He's still just got a regular Football Manager regen face, and they scare me. They really are nightmare fuel. Norlin here, who we signed for £1 million last January, is not a bad little player. Of course, he spent the year out on loan. I feel like compared to Wiles, like he's just not quite as good. I say that. He's a bit better in the air, but I look at stuff like the marking as a bit of an example of where maybe he lacks, although he does have the jumping reach. I mean, he's another player who I could definitely just keep around. Maybe I need to look to sell one of those 2 centre-backs. I kind of look at the transfer values of each. Maybe Wiles is the man I should be looking to cash in on. 13 to 18 million. Interesting. Annoyingly, those 2 players and a few other players here that I kind of want to sell are currently out on loan and I can't recall them. And, well, until their loans end, I'm not going to be able to get any bids for them. So that's going to be something to wait till July. Elsewhere, Shea Salmon, who is listed still as one of our hot prospects at the club, the goalkeeper here, had a really good loan spell, it has to be said, at QPR. Played lots of regular football for them. They won League One. I'm kind of tempted to see if they'd want him for another year to play. I was going to say as their Championship goalkeeper. They don't want him. That's sad. Well, we've offered out a few players. We'll see what bids maybe come in here as well. Peter Ahmed has a bid. The 21-year-old here is never going to play for my first team. I probably shouldn't be looking to loan him out. I should probably really be looking to sell him, shouldn't I? Southampton have made a bid worth £13 million, there or thereabouts, for Lloyd Weston. This guy's a really good fullback at Manchester United. He's a left-footed kind of left wing-back. You could easily train him to play right wing-back. To be honest, compared to Wallace, he might even be a slightly better left-back option. I think he lacks a little bit in the kind of athletics department. I say that. He doesn't even really, does he? Lloyd Weston's good. The valuation that we had previously given was a bit higher than the offer we've just seen. If I ask his agent about availability, 11 to 17 million for him. Wages aren't cheap. But he is a good little left-back option with 16 caps for England. I feel like it'd be a mistake not to at least make a bid here. Granted, I can't afford him right now. I'm going to offer 5 million up front and then 10 million over the next 3 years. Man U feel like they can get more and have denied an initial decision. I'll up it to £17.5 million. I do feel like he'd be a really, really good left-back option to get in to give Wallace some competition. What that would mean for Adam May, I'll level with you. I'm not entirely sure, although when you compare the two players, if I could get Lloyd Weston for kind of £17 million and sell Adam May for 20 plus million, that would probably just be a good bit of business. We'll offer out Adam May and just see if there's any interest out there. He's not wanted by anyone out right now. This is the kind of transfer that I'll probably end up delaying repeatedly, hoping I can scrounge together some money, if indeed there is a deal to be had. Okay, we've had some offers for players. Shirtliff has had an offer of 3.5 million from Ipswich Town. I'm going to be cheeky and ask for a little bit more. 4 million? They've taken 4 million there. There was another team that I saw it offered 3.5. That was Hearts. Hearts, will you do 5 million for Rudy Shirtliff? Oh, they will. Well, in that case, just giving an ultimatum to absolutely everyone. And sorry, Ipswich, you can't have him. I suppose with Rudy now, we'll offer him out for more than 5 million and just try and get a little bit of a bidding war going. I feel like for the price, actually, Shirtliff is probably a really good striker for a team that need a player of his quality, but I don't think he's going to ever have the quality to play for us, sadly. Swansea have made a bid for McConnell here. I'm surprised at the amount they're offering me. They want to do it with some instalments. Will they give me the money all up front? I'm going to try and negotiate here. They've offered me 13 million. Presumably, they've offered it in installments because they can't afford to pay up front, but I'll ask for 12.5. They've come in with a counter proposal of just shy of 15 million. I mean, I signed McConnell for £5 million. I've just got to take that money, haven't I? It's a good offer. I'm a bit annoyed about the fact some of it's in installments, but it's good money. Offers made for Hoey as well here. £10 million bid from Leicester is nice. What did I sign Hoey for? 10.5 million. So anything over 10.5 I'd consider a win. I'll ask for 11 million off Leicester. They've immediately bid that, which seems kind of promising. I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that these other teams now won't bid more than 11 million. I'd love to be wrong. I feel like it's going to be another £11 million bid here from Hull, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, that's not bad. It increases the odds he'll accept a move elsewhere. Plymouth don't want to pay the 11 million, so we'll reject their offer. Norwich made an offer, but it's in lots of installments, so I'll see what we can negotiate here. I'm going to go for more than 11 million because we've got nothing to lose. They're offering it in installments. I'd rather get the money up front. But you know what? 11 million for Hoey. That's pretty blooming good. One of my scouts apparently has been stolen by Manchester United. Give him a new contract. Please don't leave us, Francesco. Giving him a new contract. Hopefully he accepts that. In terms of those transfer offers we've accepted, if they all go through, that'll be £24 million up front and £31 million, including all the installments that we make on those sales. That's very nice. Man U have delayed to make an offer for Lloyd Weston, so we'll wait and see what they're doing here. Elsewhere, a few more teams have matched that £5 million ask that I gave for Shirtliff. Good news is we're definitely going to make a profit on him. Manchester United have come in with a counter proposal here. After 50 league games, they want me to pay 3.5 million. That actually doesn't seem that unreasonable. I'll suggest terms. I removed the sell on, which they didn't like. Given the fact he gets caps for England, I'm a little less keen on the idea of paying them for that. What if I just give them more money up front? I'll offer them a total of 20 million. Oh, they're driving a hard bargain, but there is a deal to be had here. I do like the look of Lloyd Weston a lot. At left back right now, obviously, Gavin Wallace is the go-to option. May is the backup. Behind those two, there's not exactly like a super obvious left back choice other than Gabadebo. Now, though, I do feel like I need to try and maybe drum up some interest in May. Apparently, Crystal Palace are interested. There's a couple of teams interested, but none want to make a bid right now. Okay, well, if they want to make a bid, that would be really nice. Okay, our offer for Lloyd Weston has been accepted, which is kind of nice. Apparently, he's got more interest in joining us than Southampton, who have made a bid. Interesting to note, Crystal Palace are apparently the other team interested in him. They obviously want my left back as well. How much do I pay Benito Lloyd Weston right now? I mean, I really like the look of him. I think actually I'd train him to play right wing back as well, so he could be that kind of versatile player. I mean, in terms of the wage spend right now, obviously, Andy White has kind of blown things open with the £110,000. He wants to be a fringe player, becoming a squad player, and then a regular starter. I'm going to change it to fringe, then squad. He's asking for £69,000. Of course, currently, he's earning £60,000 at Manchester United, which is definitely influencing things here. Given the fact I don't think he's necessarily going to be a nailed-on regular starter, going to bump up the appearance fee a little. I'm going to add a relegation release clause of 15 million. Obviously, very unlikely we're going to be relegated. I'll increase the agent fee. I'm going to try and get him down to 50. I mean, it's not cheap, but that feels like a pretty good offer all round. I maybe could have got him even a little bit cheaper there, but I know that we're potentially in a bidding war with Southampton. He's not like the most flashy player in the world for the price we're paying, but we are at a point now, I feel like, with our overall squad depth and strength, where each summer, we're only going to be looking for kind of 3 or 4 players a year, as opposed to the past maybe few years prior to this one, where every year there's obvious players to go out and get, well, an addition or 2. Confirmation, by the way, about the additional spot claimed via the coefficient. We are the beneficiaries of that England slot. So shout out to everyone who was doing well for England in international competitions. In terms of club rankings, one day, aka next year, we will be ranked in this. Obviously, this year is our first in European football. Harry Evans is our third choice goalkeeper who, well, he's not that happy at the club. I can't really blame him. We've not played him all that much since he joined us back when we were in the Championship. Hibs have made an offer here for 150k. To be honest, I wouldn't mind just keeping him around to be the third choice for one last year. He'll run down his contract and leave on a free. But I think I'm going to struggle to find a player who wants to be the third choice goalkeeper who's as good as he is, and of course is English. Good news, everyone. My scout who Manchester United were trying to steal has agreed to stay at the club. Definitely not because I've offered him an absurd amount of money. Yeah, you know, I did offer him a lot. That's probably why he's staying. Manchester City have offered me a job interview. Yeah, no thank you, lads. And in some more news here, James McConnell set to leave the club. £10 million going to be added to the transfer budget. That's a really nice fee, I feel like, to receive for him. Quite happy about that one. Hopefully give me the first of a few sales we're making. Oh, God, the Saudi Arabians are showing interest in Caleb Antson. I mean, to sign him from me, they're going to have to offer a crazy amount. There is no other English goalkeeper probably with 20 aerial reach who's this good with consistency and loving important matches. Like, I just feel like this is the goalkeeper. I feel like we found our man. Obviously, there's no bids on him yet, although speaking of bids, there is a bid here for Alex Luizu. That's an awful offer, isn't it? Reject that. That is poxy. Go away. There's players I'm willing to sell. Some of my 18-year-olds are not those players. Okay, Hoey's agreed to join Leicester. That's some good money for us there. £11 million received. Southampton have made an offer for Lancashire. Apparently, he's got no interest in joining Southampton, which is a bit annoying because I could get some really good money for him. And as much as I like him, with Sheldon and Andy White in our ranks and players like Rashid Mohammed, I feel like I could probably afford to let him go with all the injuries he had this year. I suppose I can persuade him to join. I'm going to tell him you're not in my plans. It'll be a good move for you. I may not be in your plans now, but I haven't given up hope on changing my mind. Trust me, this is the right move for you. You haven't convinced me, I'm afraid. Accept the bid if you want, but I'll not be joining Southampton. Well, you're really upsetting me here. I mean, we might as well still just negotiate this to see the kind of figure that we could have been asking for. I would have probably taken 40 million for him if it's all up front. Looking at things here, I'm not sure Southampton would have been able to offer that amount, although maybe they would have been able to do it with 25 million now and 15 million in a year. It's an offer of 40 million. I'm going to accept it and hope that maybe he changes his mind. But I don't think he's going to change his mind. I mean, we could offer him out for clubs here just for 40 million and just see if there's any similar bids that come in. I don't necessarily feel like we have to get rid of him, mind you. Ladies and gentlemen, Hoey has left the building for £11 million. Elsewhere, offers made for Lancashire. Al Ali have offered me 40 million. Oh, they've not locked it in, though. Oh, this is a test, isn't it? I mean, if they bid 40 million now, they'll probably bid 40 million again. They have loads of money. I'm going to ask for 60. They've offered 43, and it's all up front for Will Lancashire. I mean, that is me doubling my money on him. It's a really good offer. The plus points are, helps cover some of the money that we've lost from signing Andy White for 60 million. It's profit, but Lancashire was really useful for us when he played last year. The issue is, he only featured in half our league games, and he was injured for so much of the year. I've got to take that money. I'm going to reject the West Ham offer. I'd much rather sell him to a team that I'm never going to have to play against, barring maybe a Club World Cup. 43 million just makes sense. I mean, what would probably happen if that transfer goes through is Meredith would just come in and play as the pressing forward for us, which, let's be honest, he was doing for a vast majority of the year just gone. He really suits this role quite well. 17 goals in 38 games for us. I mean, he got 15 goals in the Premier League last year. It's not like in losing Lancashire, I don't have strikers that can come in that we know can score. I mean, the season tick-over date is about to come through, but if we just look at things here, of course, ignoring Andy White as well, outside of Lancashire, 4 players scored more goals than him for the year just gone. No one scored the same number of goals in a short period of time, but players like Bernard Brennan were actually fit, and that is quite valuable to have. Don't know what our previous record sale was, but 43 million would smash that. Shirtlift leaving for 5 million here is more good money for us. I was worried we weren't going to be able to do any transfers after I signed Andy White. I'm getting a little less worried about that now. We are getting some really nice transfer funds generated. Benito Lloyd-Weston can now join the club at left back. Oh, you know what? I'm going to hit delay on this one. I'm almost certainly going to confirm that deal because it's only £7 million this year for a man who I think can be a great option at left back. The only real caveat is I'd quite like to make sure that there's a bid at least in for Adam May before I confirm that transfer. I'm going to transfer Adam May and offer him out. I feel a bit harsh because I don't feel like Adam May's done anything wrong, but obviously Benito is just a straight upgrade. And Benito and Gavin Wallace will now be battling it out to be the starting left wing back. Had a bid for Josh Griffiths from Bournemouth. I'm not selling Griffiths. He's got 3 years left on his current deal. I feel like he is another just really solid backup goalkeeper for us. Apparently I should be making Andy White vice-captain. You know, that does feel a little hasty, but it is Andy White. I don't really want to upset Marcus Sheldon. So, I'm not going to do it. In terms of Premier League signings of the year, Nicky Meredith actually 3rd in the rankings is pretty cool to see. The man who topped it all is this guy, Luis Maximiano, who was signed from Leicester on a free transfer, kept 13 clean sheets. He doesn't look that good, but he plays well in the match engine. Right, the leaderboards that no one ever really seems to understand in Football Manager have appeared. That means, my friends, a new season is upon us. Season expectations for the year, I can't really change these around much. You know what? I don't feel like I should touch them. I mean, the only one I would maybe consider changing is the Champions League stuff, but let's be conservative. I don't feel like I need a load of money by unnecessarily upping the expectations. Now, on the club profile screen, our media prediction is 9th place. Last year, it was like 15th, so that is a sign of the fact we have continued to improve the team. If we look at the season preview, we're actually up here in 12th, which is a bit disappointing. We still don't have any players, by the way, in the Media Dream 11. In fact, looking at this list of players here, none of the players in the Media Dream 11 are English, with the exception technically of Musiala, but obviously that is a bit of an asterisk and a half. We are going to receive £80 million in Premier League TV money. Obviously, that is in line with previous years, although we will have Champions League money as well to look forward to. Our start to the season, by the way, sees us play Chelsea, Arsenal and Manchester United in the first 5 games. That's a horrible start to the year. Ajaria has just signed his new 5-year deal that we actually negotiated all the way back in the last kind of pre-season, last transfer special a year ago. Elsewhere, Shea Salmon signed a new deal. Brennan has also signed a new deal at the club. Some of our best young players. Really excited to get them locked down. Shea Salmon here, I think, could one day maybe compete for a goalkeeping spot in the first team. I think, to be honest, this coming year, probably just going to be looking to loan him out to a championship club. No offers for Adam May right now, although apparently some teams might be willing to pay £15 million for him. I mean, to be honest, that'd probably be quite good. I'll offer him out for 17 and see if we get any new nibbles, but yeah, Adam May, he might be one of the shortest-lived transfers ever, mightn't he? I mean, Benito Lloyd-Weston is basically a very similar squad player who's just better and has international experience, and given the fact we're paying £20 million for him, May going for like 17, even £15 million would probably just make sense. Will Lancashire set to confirm a departure away from the club? We will receive £41 million for him. It's just a really, really good offer. The 27-year-old had his issues with injuries last year. Andy White's arrived and I think is going to steal the limelight anyway. Not sure he was ever going to improve. We're not selling him to a rival. And he gets a big payday. I'm sure he's not going to be on £30,000 anymore. In fact, how much is he going to be on? Now I'm actually curious. What's he on? He doesn't join for a few days. Well, we'll find out shortly. With all the transfers we've just had go through, there's no more pending deals out. £66 million to spend, £85,000 a week on the wages as well. That feels quite nice. Apparently, Leeds are showing some interest in Rolk. Obviously, Rolk is our backup centre-back, not a starter for us. If there was a bid of, say, over probably £30 million, it might be a little bit difficult to say no, but I don't need money right now, so I'm not going to try and find a move for him. We're looking, obviously, to get in a depth option at left-back in Benito, who may even start ahead of Wallace as the season goes on. In terms of the rest of the team, there is one position where I feel like there is an obvious room for improvement, and it is Arian B at left centre-back. He's going to be turning 30 during the coming year, and whilst he's been a really, really reliable player for us, he probably has had his time in the limelight. Obviously, he's played for us the last 3 years. Never been outstanding, although you could argue his season just gone was his best. Suppose the question is, what can £60 million actually get me right now? I've not even looked at transfers available. I've been so kind of focused on just getting players gone and balancing out the bucks. Really, now I should probably be looking to sign players. And I'm pleased to report there is a lot more players listed as possible signings this year compared to previous seasons. In terms of centre-backs that have at least reasonable left-footedness, there's some players here. I'd be lying if I was to say the likes of Ronnie Edwards are particularly inspiring. I feel like none of these are really upgrades on Arian B, are they? Maybe there's players that I've not yet scouted available. Okay, there's some players here. I'm going to get scout reports on all these players towards the top. Branthwaite's available. He's 30 years old now in this universe. I mean, he is good. I'm not convinced he's a massive upgrade on Arian B. I mean, he is better in the air and better mentally, but he's 30 years old. Wages might be a problem. I mean, I'm looking through these options. I'm not wowed. I mean, honestly, of the options out there, Ashley Phillips might be the best. He's not left-footed, but he has at least got reasonable footedness on his left foot. He's only just turned 27 as well. Wages aren't that high. I mean, how does he compare to Arian B? He is a very, very good centre-back. He would be an upgrade. There's already teams interested, though. Everton signed him for £7.5 million. I mean, that feels like an absolute bargain. I'm obviously going to have to pay more for that if I want to sign him. His wage demands might be a little bit of a concern, but he is a very good centre-back option. Dorrington right now is our standout centre-back. Ashley Phillips by comparison. Oh, I feel like I probably should just make the bid and see. I'm a little bit concerned about his wage demands. I'm going to make an offer here and we'll see if Everton counter negotiate. I mean, they do, but I can afford this. Would they do 40 million? I feel like they're going to want a little bit more than I was expecting to pay. He's probably going to cost me like 45 million, 44 and a half. I'll just give him 45 million for Ashley Phillips. Like I said, I do feel like we're at a point in this save game now where it's about finding one or two significant additions. Ashley Phillips is good, and he's very good with the ball at his feet, which obviously suits things for us, given the fact we do play with ball-playing defenders. Phillips has serious doubts, and he's more interested in joining Aston Villa or Al Hilal. He wants between 115 and 145,000. I'll level with you. That does concern me a little. I mean, what's the damage? £120,000. He wants a sell-on percentage as well. I'll see if I can get his wages down to £100,000 if I include a relegation release clause of 20 million. I don't suspect we're going to be in danger of being relegated at any point in this save game now, but because of our club reputation, I think the players do perceive that because of our lower rep in the grand scheme of the league, we are at threat of relegation. Elsewhere here, I'm going to up the unused sub fee because obviously he's going to be starting for us more often than not. And you know what? He's accepted that. £100,000 at Ashley Phillips. It's not cheap, but to be fair, Champions League clubs will have all their players contracted on £100,000 a week. It's just kind of the world we now live in. I mean, we now live in a world where Andy White is here on £110,000 a week. That is going to impact the wage expectations of teams. Currently, our wage budget is still the second lowest in the Premier League. But I have to think, with obviously Champions League money coming in, Premier League money coming in, and with our stadium set to be finished at the end of the current season, the finances at the club are going to look a little bit different in the next year or two. And we can start to afford to pay some of that bigger money. I mean, if I sign Ashley Phillips, that is going to be most of my transfer budget gone. I'm going to have less than, well, I was going to say less than 20 million, but obviously I've also got Benito coming in. I'm going to have about £10 million to spend, maybe. Maybe we need to look at moving on May and a few other players. I'm being asked to confirm this signing of Lloyd Weston. I think I'm going to do it. There's enough interest in May that I'm convinced I will be able to get an offer sooner rather than later. And we're getting in a man with double-digit caps for England, can play left-back. We're going to train him, I think, to play right wing-back as well. It's just a sensible squad signing. It is official, by the way. Will Lancashire has left the club. The fans are angry. A regular starter's been sold. I'm happy we've made some money. He signed for £475,000 a week. He was on £30,000 a week at us. You know what, Will? Don't forget me. I might need some money off you at some point. Bolton have made an offer for Shea Salmon here. Bolton they're in League One. I want a championship loan, ideally, I think, for him. Clubs in England release players. I mean, Emil Smith-Rowe would be available. I don't think there's many players listed here who are going to have English nationality besides him, sadly. And I'm going to be honest, when I look at Emil Smith-Rowe, he's just not very good, is he? He is not very good. Right, I've got a load of players back from loan here who I wanted to sell last year and I couldn't find anyone who wanted them. Christopher Alozzi, we're going to try and find you a transfer, mate. And Matthew Miller, who I spent a lot of money on. Some of you might remember. We kind of want to try and sell now. That is 17 million I've accepted. I'm not getting back. I'm going to hope we can get back some of it. Amari Hutchinson's returned from his loan. I'd really quite like to sell him. I don't know if I'm going to be able to sell him. He's still contracted for 3 more years. Christopher Alozzi's withdrawn his transfer request. No, mate, you're going. Sorry. So I was really hoping that Andy Robertson might be able to get an offer from a championship club for the coming year, but I have had an offer from Bolton. I think I'm going to accept that one. To be fair, he was playing championship football for the first half of last year before we signed him. Wasn't really making a breakthrough. So to be honest, taking a step down, playing regular first-team football at League One level, might just be the best for him. Elsewhere, Louis Binks has had an offer which I've just started negotiating. Originally, it was all in instalments, but I've now managed to get it. So it's all the money up front from Oxford. So shout out to them. Sadly, Adam May, I was hoping obviously to get a little bit more money for him. We signed him for 11 million. I've had some offers come in, £12.5 million. I've already signed his replacement, so I don't have much of a choice here. I'm just going to take this money and run. Elsewhere, Porto want my technical director, because they're an annoying football team. I mean, on the one hand, I'm a bit annoyed that I'm losing Adam May for only 12.5 million. But then when I look at the man we've brought in to replace him for less than double that, it kind of just doesn't feel like that bad to get some money for him, really. Wrexham have made an offer for Alozzi. I'll be honest, it's not the big bucks I was hoping for. Given the price we paid for him, I was kind of optimistic we'd get some better cash than this. He's definitely worth more than 1.5 million, but it's probably worth it. I'll ask for a percentage of profit. They've accepted that. 50% of anything Wrexham make, we'll get back. I mean, that cushions the blow slightly. Sadly, Amari Hutchinson not attracting interest, which is a bit of an issue. Matthew Miller also not attracting interest. I can't wonder why. According to some intermediaries, they might be able to bring in some bids of 5 to 8 million. You know what, Ahmed? Just get me any money you can. I need to get rid of Matthew Miller. He makes me sad to look at. I suppose, really, if there's an intermediary option with Amari Hutchinson, it'd be nice. But there isn't. Shea Salmon has agreed to go on loan to Birmingham for 7 months. He'll give us half a season to evaluate him playing regular championship football with them. We can always look to extend the loan if he does well there. If not, we can move him elsewhere. I feel like that's a good loan for everyone involved. This man could be a great goalkeeper for us. He needs regular football. And in the championship, he'll get a good little test. Still waiting, by the way, to hear back from Ashley Phillips. That £45 million bid is, well, still there. Aston Villa have not made an offer for him yet. It's not cheap, but he is going to be a really solid centre-back for the foreseeable future. There's not many English centre-backs, I think, better than him. I'm shocked, to be honest, he's not got any international caps. Hatswell thinks he's underpaid. And mate, how much does your agent think you're worth? 50 to 60. I mean, he probably is worth that, but I can't afford it. I'm just going to tell him that we can't afford it right now. It's not 100% true, but hopefully he'll get over it. Good news, he's got over it. Well, if I was looking to sell Philip Rolk, might have issues with that now. He's just got a calf strain, out for 4 to 5 weeks. Yeah, that is annoying. We've had an offer for Matthew Miller. It's from Al Wedder, and it's not as much as I was hoping, if I'm being completely honest. They've offered 6.75 million. I'm going to be cheeky and ask them for 7.5. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done that, should I? Right, I'll call up the intermediary again. I've asked him to find a move, and now all the offers are worth less than the 6 million I had before. Right, we'll offer him out for 7.5 million. Maybe someone will pay it. My technical director has been stolen by FC Porto. I'll find a new one now. Ben Schofield is Fulham's technical director. He's very good, isn't he? Ben, do you want to join me? I've just seen he's got an ambitious personality. He's going to cost me 2 million. He ain't that good. Marco Nepe here, former technical director at Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund. You know what? That's the caliber I need. Contract offered. We'll see if he joins us. Hopefully he does. Loan offers made for Matthew Miller. Now's not the time. No, I need to sell him. I need money, not loans. Loan status unavailable for loans. Someone please pay me money. My scouting is finished on Ashley Phillips. The scouts giving him an A. Super consistent, great jumping reach. Yeah, I want him. I'll be honest, it felt like ages ago that I made that bid for him. He is really stalling that out. No offers for Matthew Miller. I should have sold him to Saudi Arabia, shouldn't I? I had an offer on the table and I got greedy. And now, ironically, I'm asking for less money than I would have got before. Arian B thinks he's underpaid. Mate, I've got some bad news for you. You are a squad player. I'm just going to have to tell him that I can't afford it. He didn't like that. Just going to check with his agent. How much is he going to want? 53 to 66,000 pounds. Mate, you're about to be replaced by Ashley Phillips. I don't know what position you think you are in to bargain here. I'm going to insist. If he wants to cry, he can cry. I mean, part of me wonders, if I get Ashley Phillips in, do I just sell Bright Arian B? Like, when you compare the two players head to head, Phillips is a way, way better player. Apparently he wants to stay at Wanderers. Well, that's not the vibe I'm getting. I'm going to offer him out and see what bids we might get. Ashley Phillips set to join the club. This might be our last big transfer of the window. £45 million is not a small amount of money, but I think it's worth it for this guy. Really, really good centre-back. Great athleticism. Technicals may be lacking a little bit, but I feel like physicals, especially in our system, or especially the wider centre-backs, do have to be more mobile. It's just worth the trade-off. Fans are happy that he's here. I am happy he is here too. That is a big transfer for us. All I'm saying is, this starting 11 now looks really, really good. I'm quite excited for the new season. I think if I had one concern right now, depth at defensive midfielder might be just the one little question mark on the team. I think we might want to get a new addition in here if we can. Even Ampadu is actually available as a free transfer. To be honest, to come in to be the 5th choice defensive mid and a bit of depth at centre-back as well. You could probably do worse than the 31-year-old. 114 caps for Wales. Happy to be a squad player too. That's kind of promising. A little bit concerned about his wage demands, but the experience he could offer could be really, really valuable to us. Bit of a hard bargain, this one. Not a cheap contract, but £55,000 a week for him, I feel like is just a good deal. He really is just coming in to be a bit of a useful freebie. Definitely don't think his best days are behind him, though. He was playing regular football for West Ham prior to them being relegated. You can see, signed for £69 million just 4 years ago. Yeah, if he decides to sign for us, I'd be quite happy. There are a few teams interested, so that could be a problem. I'm just looking through the other players here with contracts that have expired. Dominic Solanke's available. He's not very good, is he? I've looked through the other free agent options here. I'll be honest, Ampadu is just comfortably the best. AC Milan have made an offer for Ampadu. That could be annoying. Still very early on in pre-season, but to be honest, I feel like we're getting pretty close to wrapping up any major transfer business going on. I say that, and then I get an offer for Arian B from Hull. They've offered £18 million. Apparently, he's not interested in speaking to Hull anyway. Probably wouldn't have accepted 18 million anyway. But yeah, what I was about to say was, I feel like we're pretty close to wrapping up all the major transfer business. I might still look to get some squad players in. If Ampadu obviously fails to sign for us, I'll need to find a new defensive mid. Good news, though, is we are generating from some funds, such as from this sale of May for £12 million. That is going to give me a little bit more manoeuvrability in the market, but we're at a point where I've signed Phillips, I've signed Andy White, we've got a few new depth players as well. So I am thinking, rather than do a transfer special tomorrow where there's not going to be a lot going on, we might just leave things on a bit of a, not a cliffhanger today, but there might be a few loose knots that need to be tied up. I'll do those off camera. And tomorrow we will be starting the new season. Binks sale confirmed, £1.2 million there. Not a bad sum of money. I mean, I would have liked to get more, but I'm not going to get more for him. I've accepted that. Andy Robinson's loan to Bolton can be confirmed. I'm still umming and ahhing about this one, if I'm being honest. Part of me wonders if I should just keep him around as a depth striking option. But then do I need 7 first-team strikers? I don't, and he's the man with the most ceiling, and he needs game time to improve. You know what? I'm loaning him out. If I regret it, well, we'll worry about that. I don't think we will regret it. He's never going to have a big splash on our first team right now. Ladies and gentlemen, we've had an offer for Matthew Miller. I can't believe it. I don't want to mess it up this time. Hull City have made a bid for this man. Obviously, we signed him for 17 million. I messed it up. They've bid here. It's a bit installment heavy. I'm going to try and negotiate it a little bit. A deal potentially worth 10.5 million. I would like a little bit more of the profit, please, Hull. They've accepted it. He wants to go to Hull. It's the good ending. I feel like that's the perfect note to end things on. I didn't think I was going to be able to get rid of him. So in terms of where the club is at going into season number 9, I feel like we're ready now for Champions League football. We've got a little bit more depth there, which is always pleasing to see. We've made a few new additions, and crucially, we've cashed in on some players. I'd love to know what you think of the Will Lancashire sale. I feel like selling him for £43 million and then bringing in Andy White for £63 million suddenly looks like an inspired bit of business. There's £20 million difference that I've basically spent for this upgrade. It's crazy how good Andy White is. I know the Ashley Phillips signing is definitely going to be a little less popular. Centre-backs are just hard for us to find, especially English centre-backs. The wages do make me wince a little bit, but it's just a hit I think we have to take to add some decent quality. And Benito, really, I think is just going to be a super useful squad player who's an upgrade on May and didn't really cost us an arm and a leg. The start of the season against Brighton is a little under a month away. Tomorrow we are going to be kicking off the new season. I hope I have a few more signings up my sleeve to surprise you with tomorrow. I suppose you'll have to come back then to find out. Appreciate you guys watching the series. As always, if you've enjoyed, go down below, leave a like. Park to Prem is back this week for a bang, and I'll see you tomorrow for more. I'm out.